I am here with Gavin Davidson and Laura Maready to talk about operations. Hey guys, how you doing today?
Good,
Pretty
great.
good.
Okay, well, with so many disruptions to the supply chain as well as supply shortages that we've had this year, we're more focused than ever on automating tedious manual processes to help our customers make more intelligent decisions and more effectively run their businesses. So I want to dive into three key functionalities, three superpowers we're bringing to our customers to overcome these challenges: supply allocation, smart count, and intelligent product recommendations. All right, let's start with supply allocation. And we'll start with you, Gavin. How does this functionality allow our customers to better manage their inventory?
Sure, so this has been like a multi-year effort for us, really a drive towards supply chain optimization and automation. It really all started with customer feedback. So about 5-6 years ago, we met with a bunch of customers, we had them all map out their supply chains, and then tell us the areas that needed most improvement. And so really what came out of it was supply allocation was at the top one, along with then planning. And really what they wanted was more visibility into future supply, importance of customers, and deciding how to allocate the inventory to different customers based on a number of different metrics. So this has been like a 5-6 year project encompassing a number of different features. And I look at allocation as really the thing that ties everything together. So it's part of the order management platform, and you can use it a number of different ways depending on how complex your business is.
And let's kind of focus on one of those areas of supply chain
Sure.
or supply allocation from a customer standpoint, and that is profitability allocation.
Sure.
How does that functionality really help businesses address some of the challenges I laid out at the top?
Sure. So there's a few different elements to that. First of all, to understand profitability, you have to understand what your costs are. NetSuite's a great tool at making sure you know what your costs are, so you can reliably predict your profitability. You might not always want to allocate by profit, or we have other methods to optimize revenue or that sort of thing. So you may want to start off having your default allocation method to be deliver the product to give you the best on-time delivery. But then you might get into a situation where, as we've seen the last 18 months, where you have a limited supply and you want to figure out how you make the best use of that. So what we let you do now is go and choose either all of your orders or a particular range of orders, a particular range of items or locations, and it will show you the orders that will give you the most profitability or the highest revenue depending on what your specific needs are at that time. So it's not an all or nothing process. You still want to, on-time delivery is really important. You want to make sure your customers get the products when they expect it to. But if you have 5 orders that can be delivered on time in the same day, and you can only supply 3 of them, why not allocate to the one that's going to give you the most profitability?
And so we're not talking here about who my most profitable customers are necessarily.
Right.
We're saying for this particular order or these types of orders, I can get things to these people faster, quicker, less expensively.
Based on location, based on looking at things like shipping costs as well and that sort of thing. So we have multiple tools. We have a location assignment tool that will tell you the location that you should ship from based on different criteria, and then it can go and it can reallocate within that location to make sure you optimize. Basically you're optimizing the assets the best way you can, right? So it's all there. You could dump it all out into Excel and do the same thing, but now you can basically just click a box and run a search and a process, and it'll do it all for you. So
one of the things I've always wondered about this capability, is we've kind of built on this over the years, is communication with customers when you're
Sure.
making those decisions, especially if you're making them automatically. If the system is helping you do it and you're accepting those decisions, now that what we've been through with all the supply chain issues, people kind of have come to understand, not that they're happy about it,
right,
but they come to understand that they might not get what they want when they want it. But in a B2B environment, you kind of have to tell somebody they're not going to get an order they want, right? So is that something that we're seeing customers bake into their process?
Right. So we also launched a channel solution, so you can divide your customers into different channels. So like direct sales, big box stores, that sort of thing. You can assign priorities to customers. I know all customers are equal, but let's face it, some are more equal than others.
Right.
So so you can put priorities on them. You can choose how much you expose, and this also gets us down the road of order promising. So in a B2C environment, so when you're on the web store, allocation drives all that, and so we can now say, if you order this now, then you should get delivery by this date.
Right.
And caveat to that is, if you don't, then it might slip to another. So it can actually help drive sales depending on the information that you choose to expose. There's lots of information within NetSuite. You don't always want to expose all of it to the customer,
Right.
but maybe the customer service rep has access to a little bit more, and they can help drive customers in the right direction.
Yeah, that all makes a lot of sense, and that's a tricky set of things for companies to understand or to communicate and deal with, especially now. Okay, Laura, there's some new capabilities coming soon in NetSuite around cycle counting, so we want to talk about there, but can you first describe some of the different strategies for inventory counts?
Yeah, definitely. So there's really two different ways that companies will count their inventory. The first one is a full physical count. That's something where you basically shut down operations for a day or two, you go through and you count every single item in all of your locations. It's very time consuming, but it's really accurate because you're counting absolutely everything. The issue with that is that you pretty much have to shut down doing everything if you're going to be doing a full inventory count, and that's kind of overkill for a lot of people. So the way that business is evolving now, it's more toward scheduled or directed cycle counts. A cycle count is where you're counting an item, but you're only counting a couple of items. So you're counting one specific category, you're counting all of your A items maybe, you're counting all of your B items with certain frequencies. So the idea is that you decide based on the importance of the inventory, if there's anything that might be throwing off your inventory count on an item, so let's say items that are high volume, high touch items, even if they're not high volume, but items that just might magically disappear. Like let's say you have watches, you may want to count those a little more frequently than you would count socks. Socks probably not going to fly off your shelves, but watches might sneak away somehow. So you want to count your higher velocity, higher value items a little more frequently. And the great thing about NetSuite is that today you can actually set up by item, I want to count this item with this frequency. And it will help you create that plan.
And I'm wondering, so I hear about periodic and perpetual inventory counts. That's part of cycle counting, right?
Correct, yeah.
And when do you want to use one versus the other?
A lot of it really depends on the business scenario. When I've been talking to customers, the ones who are happiest doing perpetual counts are the ones where they really feel like they have their processes down. Their people are going to be following the processes correctly, and they're pretty convinced that the count's pretty good. So they have certain items that they're going to look at a little bit more often, but they're pretty confident in them. Then you have other areas where you're a little less confident, and there could be mistakes. I was talking to one customer that they have two NetSuite locations in one physical location. So it's quite possible that somebody would take something from one location without doing the complete process, and that would cause the count to be wrong. So in that case, they would want to be counting more frequently.
So we're in an interesting time of year, end of October. I imagine as the holidays approach, people are already planning their physical counts, which usually happen right first week of January or thereabouts.
Right.
So I'm going to use that as a segue to talk about Smart Count.
All right.
Because smart sounds better to me.
It always is better.
Can you share a bit about what Smart Count is and how it enhances the NetSuite solution?
Yeah, so Smart Count is our all new live counting cycle count solution. The most important part of it is probably that first word I said, live. So in cycle counting today in NetSuite, you are not able to perform a cycle count while you also have transactions happening in the location. And that can present a challenge. Let's say if you're a retailer, you have to count when you're not doing business. So you can't check out a customer. You can't be receiving anything. You can't be shipping anything out. That's a big challenge for customers. So Smart Count is going to be live. You're going to be able to count while other transactions are happening in your locations. Huge. The other thing, of course, is that it's smart. So Smart Count is going to be able to help you create lists of items that need to be counted based on several smart criteria and your own business rules. One example is we'll automatically create a count for items where we tried to pick it and we couldn't pick it because it was not on the shelf. Or for items where you have a fulfillment request for a store to fulfill and where you have tried to fulfill it but you could not because it wasn't there. In the past, there was really nothing that would drive you to count that inventory and make sure it was accurate. So you might have kept sending somebody to pick the same item over and over again and never realize that you actually don't have any on the shelf. So Smart Count will enable customers to count those automatically. It'll send that right out to the mobile device that is held by the person who is doing the count, and they'll see a list of, hey, please go out and count these items. Yeah.
Wow, okay, sounds smart.
That's what we're trying
The
for.
live part,
Yeah.
I'm trying to wrap my head around that part.
Right.
So as you're transacting business, is that being factored into the count?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So not to get into the weeds too much, but in current cycle counting, it takes a snapshot of what your inventory is when you start the count. The problem is the count may take a while. So we're changing that up by actually taking a snapshot at the end of the count. We're also going to have smart notifications. So if between the time you started a count and you ended a count, something happens in your location for that item, we're actually going to alert you. So we're going to tell you, hey, this count may not be right. So you may want to keep customers out of the socks area while you're counting the socks, for instance. But there's no reason to stop selling everything else in your store just because you're counting socks.
Got it. And so, I mean, you've kind of talked about some of the benefits, but overall, what's the customer benefit? Like, what's the selling point that somebody's going to say, I got to have this?
Yeah, well, live count is absolutely huge. The other one that I think is great is that we're removing the need for cycle count plans. Today, if you are in a location and you walk into an area, let's say you're in a warehouse, you walk to a bin, the bin is empty. You need to be able to tell NetSuite this bin is empty. There's a long process you have to go through to actually initiate a cycle count and then count and then update that inventory level. And what Smart Count's going to enable you to do is pull out your mobile device and scan the bin and say this bin is empty.
Right.
That simply. The other great benefit is the way that we're handling approvals. So with current cycle counting today, you approve or disapprove the entire count, not by item, and that has to be done manually. So what we're doing is we're initiating automatic approvals with different thresholds. So you can set thresholds and say, if my inventory quantity is off by 1 or 2, let's go ahead and post it. Just do it automatically, I don't care. On the other hand, you may be somebody who really wants to care about your inventory, you want to take it all yourself, you can still do that. It's completely flexible. You can approve or reject a count by line, so you can approve everything except for one item. And when you do a rejection, it will actually automatically create another cycle count sent to the mobile device and to the locations and tell them, hey, count this item again.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And all this really just gets to more accurate inventory, right?
Yeah.
So
Sure.
we've all been in a situation, you go to a store and they don't have it, and they say, oh, but you go to the store B, it says they have 2. But you get there, and do they actually have 2, or do they? And so
Right.
that's a really important customer experience and confidence thing as
Sure.
well, right?
Sure. We're going to switch gears real quick here to talk about Suite Commerce and intelligent product recommendations. I sense a theme: smart, intelligent.
Oh yeah.
But first, let's just give people a quick rundown of what Suite Commerce is.
Okay. Well, Suite Commerce is our e-commerce platform. It is built entirely into NetSuite and completely integrated with NetSuite. That means that you're going to be able to drive omni-channel commerce in a completely integrated way. You're going to have the same platform is going to be handling everything from your item management to your orders to fulfillment to actually just taking payments. So everything will be handled right there in NetSuite in one place.
Okay, and so what are intelligent product recommendations, and how does that fit in with Suite Commerce?
Yeah, so intelligent product recommendations are where Suite Commerce is going to be able to present to customers items that we think that they're going to want to buy. That's great for retailers because it means that you can sell them more, of course. And it's great for customers because what we're seeing is the customers more and more want an experience that's tailored to them. They really want an experience and to feel like things are customized for them, but that's really expensive to do. Customizing for each individual customer, lots of money, not going to be really possible. With smart recommendations, with intelligent recommendations, we're going to be able to suggest to customers things that they're going to like, but you don't have to have a salesperson know them, and you don't have to have, you don't have to have a different assortment for every customer. You can just utilize these algorithms.
And so what kind of algorithms are behind this?
Yeah, so it's a matrix factor algorithm. What that is really going to be able to do is present in 3 contexts the recommendations to the customers. It's going to present 2 of them on the item pages, also on the checkout page, and also on the cart. So they'll be able to see these items that have been suggested to them in those 3 spots.
Okay. So we've got a lot of stuff happening, intelligent thing for product-based companies.
Correct.
I feel like we've been putting a lot of time and research and effort into this over the last few years. I'm sure we have a lot more new stuff to look forward to.
Lots more.
Yeah. More.
Okay. Well, one final thing before we wrap up. We've been playing a little game where we've been planning on playing a game of Mad Lib Theater. Stole that from Jimmy Fallon in just a little bit, actually, and so I need some words from you guys. Laura, I need an adjective from you.
Smart.
Smart. There we go. What else? Gavin, I need a historical figure.
Oh, what about Shakespeare? William Shakespeare.
Shakespeare, okay. I like it. Gavin, Laura, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.